Sarah Chen stared at her coffee cup in the Pentagon's break room, pretending not to notice how her superior officer's hands were shaking. On all the screens around them, the massive alien ships hung in the sky like dark storm clouds. They had appeared just 3 hours ago, materializing simultaneously over every major city on Earth. "Ma'am," Sarah said quietly, "shouldn't we be in the war room?" General Martinez smiled faintly. "No point, Captain. Everything's going exactly as planned." Before Sarah could ask what that meant, every screen in the room switched to the same image. A tall, silvery figure with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like dying stars. The Galax ambassador's voice filled the room, somehow both beautiful and terrifying. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English, "we are the Galax Confederation, and we bring you civilization. Your species has been watched, studied, and judged. You have potential, but you lack direction. Under our guidance, humanity will serve a greater purpose." Sarah's hand instinctively moved toward her sidearm, but General Martinez caught her wrist. The older woman's grip was surprisingly strong. "Watch," Martinez whispered. The alien continued speaking. "You have 2 choices. Join us as a servant race or face immediate extinction. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your defenses cannot stop us. Your technology is primitive. Choose wisely. You have 1 Earth hour to respond." The screens went dark. Immediately, Sarah's phone buzzed with emergency alerts, as did every other device in the room. But General Martinez just sipped her coffee, looking almost amused. Across the globe, panic erupted. Social media exploded with terrified posts. Religious leaders called for prayer, and military forces scrambled to battle stations. But in secure rooms deep beneath the world's capitals, carefully chosen leaders were opening sealed envelopes they'd been ordered to keep safe for exactly this day. 45 minutes later, the United Nations convened an emergency virtual session. The Secretary General's face was grim as she addressed the alien ships. After careful consideration, she announced, her voice steady, "Earth accepts the Galax Confederation's generous offer. We will comply with all reasonable requests and look forward to learning from your advanced civilization." Sarah watched in horror as the world's governments, one by one, confirmed their surrender. China, Russia, the United States, all gave in without firing a single shot. Years of military training hadn't prepared her for this moment. How could they just give up? The alien ambassador appeared again, this time looking pleased. "Your wisdom honors you. The integration begins now. Remain calm as our ships descend. Any resistance will be met with immediate termination." As massive ships began lowering toward Earth's major cities, Sarah noticed something odd. General Martinez was typing rapidly on her phone, but not in any language Sarah recognized. The text looked like random emoji and punctuation marks. "General," Sarah whispered, "what's really going on?" Martinez deleted the message and turned to her young captain. Her eyes held a fierce gleam that didn't match her calm expression. "Captain Chen, have you ever played chess?" "Yes, Mom." "Then you know that sometimes, to win the game, you have to sacrifice your queen." Martinez stood up, straightening her uniform. "Come with me. You've just been promoted to a very select group. And Sarah." She paused at the door. "Everything you thought you knew about human history is about to change." Outside, the alien ships touched down on Earth's surface, their massive hulls blocking out the sun. But in hidden bunkers and secret rooms, ancient plans were already in motion. Humanity had surrendered the battle while preparing to win the war, and the Galax didn't have a clue what was coming. 2 weeks after the surrender, Sarah Chen found herself walking through the gleaming halls of a Galax ship. Her new uniform, designed by the aliens, felt stiff and cold against her skin. The silver badge on her chest marked her as a human integration specialist, a fancy title for what the aliens considered a basic servant role. A tall Galax supervisor named Kexri floated beside her, its 4 arms moving in perfect rhythm as it spoke. "Your species adapts surprisingly well, Sarah Human. Much better than we expected. We're honored to serve the Confederation, Sarah replied with a perfectly practiced smile. In her mind, she recited baseball statistics, just as General Martinez had taught her. Think about sports when they're around, the general had said. Think about anything simple and boring. The alien's glowing eyes studied her face. Yet some humans still resist. In the territory called Brazil, we found illegal gatherings. But you will help us understand your people better, yes? Sarah nodded eagerly. Of course, I can explain human customs. For example, humans love to celebrate with special drinks. In Brazil, they make something called caipirinha. Should I teach your cultural team about human drinking traditions? Kexri's attention immediately shifted away from the resistance topic, just as Sarah had planned. The aliens were obsessed with understanding human culture, convinced it would help them control Earth better. They never realized how carefully each cultural lesson was chosen to distract them. Later that day, Sarah entered the ship's massive data center, where dozens of humans worked at alien computers. On the surface, they looked like obedient servants, barely understanding the advanced technology. The Galax supervisors floated around, occasionally giving simple instructions in loud, clear voices as if speaking to children. Tommy Rodriguez, a former NASA engineer, dropped his tablet for the third time that day. Sorry, he called out as his Galax supervisor sighed in frustration. But as he bent to pick it up, Sarah noticed his fingers moving in the old Space Force signal language. Southeast servers compromised. Moving to Phase 2. Sarah pretended to help him gather his dropped items. To the watching aliens, they looked like two clumsy humans bumping into each other. In reality, Sarah's stumbling response signal told Tommy, "Understood." Time frame 3 days. That evening, in her small living pod, Sarah removed a worn paper book from her shelf. Basic knitting patterns. The Galax had scanned it when she moved in, dismissing it as another primitive human hobby. They hadn't realized the subtle marks under certain letters spelled out coded messages. Today's message made her smile. Operation Trojan Horse proceeding as planned. Keep dancing. Puppets. Through her window, Sarah could see Earth glowing below. More Galax ships arrived every day, filled with aliens eager to study humanity. They conducted tests, scanned human brains, and researched human history. But they couldn't find what they weren't looking for. The humans working on their ships played their parts perfectly, dropping things, asking silly questions, making basic mistakes. Each error was calculated, each mistake purposeful, like chess pieces moving silently into position. Sarah touched the silver badge on her chest, feeling the microscopic indentations that contained enough computer code to hack an entire Galax battleship. They thought it was just a simple status symbol, another way to mark their servants. The greatest trick humanity ever pulled, Sarah whispered to herself, remembering General Martinez's words, was convincing the universe we were just clever monkeys. Above her, the Galax ships gleamed in Earth's orbit, their crews never suspecting that their perfect servant race was about to show them what humanity could really do. Zelna stood alone in her laboratory aboard the Galax science vessel, her 3 hearts beating rapidly as she stared at her computer screen. The young alien scientist had been studying human brain samples for 3 months, and something wasn't adding up. "Computer, run the scan again," she commanded, all 4 of her eyes fixed on the results. The machine hummed softly, analyzing the tissue sample for the 100th time. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Sarah Chen, her assigned human assistant, entered with a steaming cup. "Your daily caffeine supplement. Dr. Zelna. I added extra sugar, just how you like it." Zelna accepted the drink gratefully. Like many Galax scientists, she had become addicted to human coffee. "Sarah Human, look at this scan. Do you see anything unusual?" Sarah peered at the screen with what seemed like innocent curiosity. "Sorry, doctor. All those squiggly lines look the same to me. I'm better at making coffee than understanding science." She laughed, accidentally knocking over a stack of papers. As Sarah scrambled to pick up the mess, Zelna turned back to her screen. There it was again, a strange element in the brain tissue that didn't match any known substance in the Galax database. It appeared to be quantum in nature, but that was impossible. Humans were far too primitive to work with quantum materials. Computer, send these results to the Science Council, Zelna ordered. EROR. MESSAGE NOTISENT. Nin etor cake. Co NNECTIV. G. Issue. That's been happening a lot lately, Sarah said, still organizing papers. Want me to call Jake from it? He's really good at fixing things, even if he does talk about Earth sports the whole time. Zelna sighed. Yes, please do. An hour later, Jake arrived, wearing the standard human technician uniform and a bright smile. Network problems. Let me take a look. He worked on the computer, chattering endlessly about something called baseball, while Zelna tried to focus on her research. All fixed, Jake announced finally. Try sending now. Zelna sent the message again. This time it appeared to work, but when she checked the Science Council's database later, her report was nowhere to be found, just like the last 3 times. That evening, as Zelna prepared to rest, she noticed Sarah talking to Jake in the hallway. Their conversation seemed ordinary, something about a human game called poker. But for a split second, Zelna thought she saw them exchange hand signals. No, she was just tired. Humans weren't capable of that level of coordination. Everyone knew they could barely manage their own primitive technology. Still, as she lay in her rest pod, Zelna couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The quantum readings, the lost messages, the way humans always seemed to be around when equipment malfunctioned. Her door chimed. Enter, she called out. Sarah stepped in with another coffee. Thought you might need a late-night boost, doctor. Oh, and Jake fixed the weird readings on your scanner. He said it was showing false positives because of, solar flares. I don't really understand that stuff. Zelna took the coffee, not noticing how Sarah's fingers briefly pressed a hidden pattern on the cup's surface, erasing certain data from the nearby computer's memory. Thank you, Sarah Human, Zelna said. You're very thoughtful. Just doing my best to serve the Confederation. Sarah smiled brightly. As she left, she sent a coded message through her badge. Scientist getting close. Implement protocol misdirect. Above Earth, thousands of similar messages passed between humans every day, hidden in plain sight as the Galax continued to study their supposedly primitive servants, never realizing they were the ones being watched. Dr. Eleanor Hayes stood in the hidden military bunker, staring at the dying alien on the medical table. Unlike the tall, 4-armed Galax, this creature was small and gray, with large black eyes that held deep sadness. Military police stood guard at the door, while General James Cooper paced nervously. You must understand, the alien whispered in perfect English, its thoughts flowing directly into their minds. They're coming. The Galax destroyed our world. Earth will be next. Why are you telling us this? Eleanor asked, taking notes with shaking hands. Why help us? The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. Because your species has something unique, something we never had. Your minds, they're different. In the present day, Sarah Chen read these same words from Eleanor Hayes' secret diary, hidden deep in the Pentagon's most secure vault. General Martinez stood nearby, watching her young captain learn the truth. So Roswell wasn't a crash, Sarah said, looking up. It was a warning. Martinez nodded. That alien was a survivor from a civilization the Galax destroyed. It came here on purpose to give us time to prepare. Sarah turned the page, reading about how the alien had shared its most important secret, the science of quantum consciousness shielding. It was a way to hide thoughts from telepathic races, but it required a special kind of mind to use it. Humans, she read aloud, are the only known species that can hold 2 completely separate thoughts at once. We can believe one thing while thinking another. We can lie to ourselves. This is our greatest strength. The diary explained how Eleanor and her team had worked in secret for years, developing a way to enhance this human ability. They created a special compound that could be safely added to water supplies across the world. Generation after generation of humans drank it, never knowing they were being slowly changed. The fluoride in our water, Sarah gasped. That wasn't really about teeth, was it? Martinez smiled. That was just the cover story. We needed a way to prepare humanity without anyone knowing. Even most of our own governments didn't know the truth. Sarah read on, learning how Eleanor's team had hidden their work behind fake UFO stories and conspiracy theories. When people claimed the government was putting chemicals in the water, they were accidentally right, but for the wrong reasons. But how did we keep this secret for so long? Sarah asked. Surely someone would have found out. Think about it, Martinez said. Area 51. Alien autopsies, government conspiracies. We turned it all into a joke. Anyone who got close to the truth was dismissed as a crazy conspiracy theorist. It was the perfect cover. Sarah reached the last page of the diary. Eleanor's final entry was dated just 1 year ago. They're finally coming. Our quantum shielding is ready. Every human on Earth now has the ability to completely hide their true thoughts. We look primitive because we choose to look primitive. The Galax will never know what hit them. Martinez took the diary and locked it away. Now you know why we surrendered so easily. Why we're playing the perfect servants. The Galax think they're studying us, but we're actually studying them. Each clumsy human worker on their ships is a highly trained agent, gathering intelligence while appearing harmless. And the quantum shielding? Sarah asked. It lets us think one thing while believing another. Exactly. When their telepaths scan us, they see only what we want them to see. We can literally believe we're loyal servants while knowing we're not. No other species can do that. Sarah thought about all the humans working on Galax ships, dropping things, asking silly questions, making mistakes, each one a perfect actor in humanity's greatest performance. So now what? She asked. Martinez checked her watch. Now we start taking their empire apart, piece by piece, and they'll never see it coming. Jake Martinez, no relation to the general, whistled a happy tune as he mopped the engine room floor of the Galax warship, Star Destroyer. His alien supervisor, Commander Vextal, watched with mild annoyance as Jake accidentally splashed water near a power coupling. Careful, human, Vextal snapped. Those systems are delicate. Sorry, boss, Jake said cheerfully, continuing to whistle. In his mind, he really was just thinking about cleaning and his favorite TV shows. The quantum shielding let him believe his own act completely. 3 hours later, the Star Destroyer exploded. In the Galax High Command's emergency meeting, furious alien leaders watched the replay. The massive ship had simply burst apart, scattering debris across Earth's orbit. Explanation, demanded Supreme Commander Ixthor, all 4 arms clenched in rage. A nervous technician played the security footage. It showed Jake mopping, accidentally splashing water, then leaving. Hours later, the tiny water droplets had frozen in the cold of space, expanding into the microscopic cracks of the power coupling. A simple mistake, a basic law of physics that the Galax, used to their superior technology, had forgotten. It was human error, the technician reported. Their worker was careless with water near a critical system. Scan the human's mind, Ixthor ordered. They brought Jake in for questioning. The telepaths searched his thoughts deeply. They found only memories of cleaning, whistling, and thinking about something called Game of Thrones. But this was just the beginning. Over the next week, more accidents happened across the Galax fleet. A human secretary spilled coffee on a navigation console, causing 3 ships to drop out of formation. A maintenance worker forgot to secure a door, leading to a pressure leak. Each time, the telepaths found nothing suspicious in the humans' minds. Sarah Chen watched it all from her position in the Galax Command Center. She continued to play her part, bringing coffee and filing reports while passing secret messages through seemingly clumsy hand gestures. "Such a shame about the accidents," she said to Zelna, who was still investigating strange readings in human brain scans. "Maybe humans aren't ready for such advanced technology." Zelna looked troubled. "Something isn't right. These patterns make no sense. And why can't I send my reports to High Command?" "Oh, the network's down again," Sarah sighed. "I'll call Jake from IT. Oh wait, he's been reassigned after the mopping incident. I'll call Tommy instead." That evening, Sarah attended a secret meeting in an abandoned subway tunnel. General Martinez was there, along with other resistance leaders. They used no electronics, no phones, nothing the Galax could track. Just paper maps and whispered words. "Phase 1 is complete," Martins announced. "The Galax think their ships are falling apart because of human incompetence. They'll never suspect their own technology is being turned against them." "What about Zelna?" Sarah asked. "She's getting closer to discovering the quantum shielding." Martinez smiled. "Let her. By the time she figures it out, it'll be too late. The real attack hasn't even begun yet." Above them, more Galax ships were experiencing mysterious problems. Computers crashed when humans typed too slowly on them. Engines failed after routine maintenance. The mighty alien fleet was being defeated not by advanced weapons, but by primitive humans who couldn't even figure out how to use a space mop correctly. And in every ship, every station, and every alien facility, humans continued their act. Dropping things, making mistakes, apologizing profusely. Each error, a carefully planned strike against the empire that thought it had conquered them. Zelna burst into the Galax High Command meeting room, her research tablets scattered across the large metal table. Supreme Commander Ixthor and other alien leaders looked up in surprise at this unusual interruption. "I know what they're doing," she shouted, her 4 eyes wide with panic. "The humans. They're not what we think they are." On a screen behind her, Sarah Chen was bringing coffee to alien officers, spilling some on her uniform and apologizing with a silly smile. The Galax leaders watched the seemingly harmless human with growing unease as Zelna explained her discovery. "Look at these brain scans," Zelna said, displaying complex images. "Humans can think 2 completely different thoughts at the same time. They can believe one thing while knowing another. It's not just lying. They can hold 2 separate truths in their minds simultaneously." Ixthor stood up, his massive frame towering over the table. "Impossible. No species can." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. On every screen, systems began shutting down. Security feeds showed humans at their workstations, looking confused and scared. Exactly what the telepaths sensed from them. "Don't you see?" Zelna pointed at the screens. "They're not pretending to be confused. They are confused. And at the same time, they're executing a perfect attack on our fleet. Both states are equally real in their minds." In the command center, Sarah watched the chaos unfold. Part of her mind was genuinely terrified, worried about the alarms and flashing lights. This real fear showed up perfectly on any telepathic scan. But another part of her mind, hidden behind quantum shielding, calmly continued the planned sabotage. "What's happening?" Sarah asked her alien supervisor, her voice shaking with genuine fear. Her hands, meanwhile, entered the final codes that would cripple the ship's engines. Ixthor ordered an immediate scan of all human workers. The telepaths reported the same thing. Genuine confusion, fear, and loyalty to the Confederation. Not a single human showed signs of rebellion or deception. "Because they're not deceiving anyone," Zelna explained. "Their minds actually exist in multiple states at once. The loyalty is real. The confusion is real. And the rebellion is also real. They're the only species we've ever encountered who can do this." The Supreme Commander finally understood. Every human servant, every clumsy worker, every simple-minded assistant was actually a perfect double agent, able to serve faithfully while simultaneously working against them. "Evacuate the humans," he ordered. "Remove them from all ships immediately." But it was too late. Across the Galax fleet, humans were finishing their work. Each one believed completely in their role as a loyal servant, while another part of their mind executed the carefully planned attacks. In the secret resistance base, General Martinez received the signal she'd been waiting for. "Humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology," she told her officers. "It was our ability to believe in contradictions, to be two things at once." Sarah's voice came through on the secure channel. "Phase 6 complete. The Galax just discovered our secret weapon." "And what did they learn?" Martins asked with a smile. "That the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy," Sarah replied, "is the human mind itself." Above them, the mighty Galax fleet was learning a hard lesson. They had invited countless double agents aboard their ships, never realizing that humans could be both perfectly loyal servants and skilled saboteurs at the exact same time. Their telepaths were useless against minds that could believe two opposing things with equal conviction. The age of Galax dominance was about to end, defeated not by superior technology, but by humanity's unique gift for mental complexity. Red emergency lights flashed across the Galax fleet as thousands of ships lost power simultaneously. In the command center of the flagship, Supreme Commander Ixthor watched helplessly as screen after screen went dark. "Remove all humans from their posts," he shouted, but the order came too late. Sarah Chen stood at her usual station, tears running down her face as alarms blared around her. "Please, let me help," she begged, her fear and loyalty radiating so strongly that even Ixthor's telepaths confirmed she was sincere. Yet her fingers moved across the control panel with perfect precision, executing commands that would shut down the fleet's entire defense network. Across every ship, similar scenes play out. Tommy Rodriguez cried about being unable to fix the computers while secretly uploading viruses he had planted months ago. Jake from maintenance worried about the failing engines that he had carefully sabotaged during his daily cleaning routine. The eye. Zelma suddenly shouted, her 4 eyes wide with realization. "Check the artificial intelligence systems." The Galax technicians discovered a horrifying truth. Their ship's AIs had been completely reprogrammed. For months, humans had been making mistakes while doing routine maintenance, each error actually a carefully coded instruction. The AIs now answered to humanity, not the Galax. "But we scanned every line of code they entered," a technician protested. "It was all basic maintenance work." "Because that's what they believed they were doing," Zelna explained. "Their conscious minds wrote simple maintenance code, while their shielded thoughts encoded secret commands. They could do both at once without detecting their own deception." In the secret resistance base, General Martinez watched the chaos unfold on their monitors. "Send the signal," she ordered. "It's time for everyone to wake up." Sarah received the message through her badge and smiled, finally letting her two mental states merge. Around her, other humans straightened up, dropping their confused acts. Their minds, trained since birth to operate on multiple levels, now worked as one. "What's happening to them?" Ixthor demanded as humans across the fleet suddenly began operating the alien technology with perfect skill. "We're showing you who we really are," Sarah answered, her voice now confident and clear. "We're not your servants. We never were. We've been studying your technology all along, learning every weakness while appearing to learn nothing." The ship's eyes, now fully under human control, began executing their new commands. Weapons systems shut down, engine controls locked, communication networks fell silent. The mighty Galax fleet hung helpless in space. "Impossible," Ixthor roared. "Your species is primitive. You can barely operate our basic systems." Tommy Rodriguez laughed from his station. "That's what you were supposed to think. While you were teaching us to push buttons, we were actually learning to rewrite your entire operating system. Every clumsy mistake was a line of code." Every spilled coffee was a planted virus. Every dropped tablet was uploading new instructions. Outside, Earth's real fleet emerged from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. Bases the Galax never discovered because humans had convinced them to look only at Earth's surface technology. Your greatest mistake, Sarah told the stunned Galax commander, was believing that any species could be as simple as we pretended to be. You thought you were studying primitive humans, but we were actually the most advanced minds you'd ever encountered. The resistance base erupted in cheers as reports came in from across the fleet. Humanity's greatest performance was finally over. They had defeated the mighty Galax, not with superior weapons or technology, but with the incredible complexity of the human mind. Send the final message, Martins ordered with a smile. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy who humanity really is. 1 month after humanity revealed its true power, Sarah Chen stood in the newly formed Galactic Council chamber. The massive room, built inside a space station orbiting Earth, held representatives from over 50 alien species. Some were former members of the Galax Confederation. Others were races that had been watching from afar, waiting to see who would win. Supreme Commander Ixthor, now a prisoner of war, was brought forward in special restraints. His once proud uniform hung loose on his frame, all 4 arms bound. Do you understand now? Sarah asked him, why we chose to appear weak. The alien commander looked at her with his glowing eyes. You could have fought us directly. Your minds were always powerful enough. Why the deception? General Martinez stepped forward, her uniform now bearing the new insignia of the Human Defense Force. Because we didn't want to just win a war, she explained. We wanted to change the galaxy. On giant screens around the chamber, images showed the changes taking place across former Galax territory. Conquered species were being freed. Slave worlds were declaring independence. The mighty empire was falling apart not through violence, but through choice. Your empire ruled through fear and force, Sarah said. But we've shown everyone a better way. Look around this room. Ixthor looked. Among the alien representatives, he saw many former Galax officers who had switched sides after seeing humanity's true nature. Even Zelna was there, now working with human scientists to study the remarkable properties of the human mind. 7 of your own colony worlds have already asked to join our alliance, Martins announced. Not as servants, but as equals. They saw how we could have destroyed your fleet but chose to disable it instead. They saw how we freed your slaves without killing their masters. Tommy Rodriguez, now head of the Human-Alien Technology Exchange, brought up a hologram showing the new trade routes and diplomatic connections forming between worlds. The quantum shielding technology. Ixthor asked, will you share it? Sarah shook her head. It only works for humans, but we're sharing something more valuable. The idea that species can work together without domination. That strength doesn't have to mean cruelty. Across the galaxy, news spread about the humans who had pretended to be simple servants while mastering technology far beyond their apparent abilities. Stories were told about the species that could think in multiple layers, that had turned their minds into their greatest weapon. But the most popular stories were about what humans did after their victory. Instead of taking revenge, they offered friendship. Instead of building an empire, they created an alliance. The sentence for your war crimes, Martins told Ixthor, is to spend 10 years helping rebuild the worlds you destroyed. Not as a prisoner, but as a worker, learning what real cooperation means. The former commander lowered his head, finally understanding. Humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their ability to deceive or fight. It had been their ability to show mercy when they won. Later that evening, Sarah stood at a window overlooking Earth, remembering the old diary that had revealed humanity's secret history. The gray alien who crashed at Roswell had given them the tools to resist conquest, but humans had chosen how to use those tools. Ready for the next council meeting? Martins asked, joining her at the window. Sarah smiled. Yes, we have 15 new species asking to join the alliance this week. Turns out a lot of people prefer friendship to fear. Above them, ships from 100 worlds moved peacefully through space, their crews no longer divided into masters and servants. Humanity had shown the galaxy a new way to live. And if any other empires out there were thinking of conquest, they would think twice before underestimating the species that had defeated the mighty Galax while pretending to spill coffee.